Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kat, and today I am doing the 22 books I want to read in 2022. So it's kind of into 4 sections. Books I have on my shelves, books that aren't out yet, books I have on my Kindle, and books from the library. So those are like the different areas that I'm planning to read them from. And we're gonna start out with the ones that I have on my shelves, and actually all of these but one is from my recent birthday and holiday book haul. So I'm just gonna show their covers, and if you wanna know more about the books, I will leave that haul link down below. So we have A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers, The Blood of Angels by Johanna Sinisalo, Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by LaRocca, Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, Cursed Bunny by Bora Chung, and Compass Rose by Anna Burke. And the only other book that I have like a physical copy of in my own library is Call Me By Your Name by Aciman. I don't think I need to explain what this book is about. We all know what it's about. So those are all of the ones that I currently have on my shelves. Now let's talk about the ones that aren't out yet that I think I'm going to absolutely love and really want to read. So first up is Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. Julia Armfield wrote my favorite short story collection, Salt Slow, so I'm really keen to read this. I think it is her first fiction work. That's a novel. So it says, Miri thinks she has got her wife back when Leah finally returns after a deep sea mission that ended in catastrophe. It soon becomes clear, though, that Leah is not the same. Whatever happened in that vessel, whatever it was they were supposed to be studying before they were stranded on the ocean floor, Leah has brought part of it back with her onto dry land and into their home. Sounds great. I know that I love this author's writing style. The cover, the title, all are amazing, and the synopsis is exactly up my alley, and the first 2 shelves on Goodreads are horror and LGBT. So I'm so highly anticipating this that it kind of hurts me. I think maybe I need to lower my expectations a little because they might be a little too high. And the second one that I am most highly anticipating and want to read this year is These Presenting Hills by Christopher Rowe. So this is an AI story that I have been granted on NetGalley. It's out by Tor, and Tor often gives me ARCs, and I love them for that. So it says, in a long ago war, the all-powerful AI ruler of the voluntary state of Tennessee, Athena Parthenis, Queen of Reason, invaded and decimated the American Southeast. Possessing the ability to infect and corrupt the surrounding environment with nanotechnology, she transformed flora, fauna, and the very ground itself into biomechanical weapons of war. Marcia, a former captain from Kentucky, experienced firsthand the terrifying, mind-twisting abilities of Athena's creatures. Now back in the Commonwealth, her retirement is cut short by the arrival of federal troops in her tiny, isolated town. One of Athena's most powerful weapons may still be buried nearby, and they need Marcia's help to find it. Sounds so good in such a unique setting. It's a standalone novella set in the same Kentuckian post-apocalyptic setting as her previous stories. So it sounds so good, and I absolutely love the cover. The cover really reminds me of art by Simon Stålenhag, who we will get to later in this list because yeah, we will get to it later. So those are the 2 that aren't out yet. The first one is out March 3rd, and this one is out May 31st. So let's talk about the ones that I have on my Kindle currently. So The Push by Ashley Audrain. This is a potential evil mother, evil child book, which just immediately drew my attention in, and it has super high reviews from like everyone who has ever read it. So it says, this is a tense, page-turning psychological drama about the making and breaking of a family, and a woman whose experience of motherhood is nothing at all what she hoped for, and everything she feared. So I don't really want to know more than that because I hate when there's spoilers about who is actually telling the truth or who is actually seeing reality and who is potentially having a psychotic break, or if the child's bad or not. I like to go into it and figure out like which side of the coin is reality as I'm reading it. So if you've read The Push, let me know because I've heard just great things about it. And then we have God of Death by Z Shinestorm. So Storm's writing style is excellent and the tension is excellent. They write romance, and I read He Made Me Do It, which was on my top 30 of last year. And Storm is a Fijian author, which is pretty cool. So this is a Hades Persephone retelling with a twist where it says, what if Hades wanted Persephone's brother instead of Persephone? So I'm really here for it. And it says Deviant Lore #1. So I think it's going to be a series of lore retellings. And if so, I would be so down for that. Yeah, so I really want to read this. I bought it and then I just never read it. I bought it for myself, like for a Christmas gift because it's not very expensive. And then I just never bought it. I never read it. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? So next on my list is They Never Learn by Layne Fargo. This one caught my attention because I'm trying to read more books with women, female like serial killers or killers as the main character. And this one totally fit the bill, and it's actually the first book that I read this year. So it's following Scarlett, who is an English professor who also is like a serial killer because she picks out the worst men at her university every year and kills them. And I just think that the premise is amazing. I've already read it, but I'm going to review it in another video, so look out for that. Next up on my list is Mother for Dinner by Shalom Auslander. I forget who on BookTube was talking about this, but it sounded so good. So the cover kind of gives you a hint about what the book is about. It's cannibalism. So it says, Seventh Seltzer has done everything he can to break from the past, but in his overbearing, narcissistic mother's last moments, he is drawn back into the life he left behind. At her deathbed, she whispers in his ear the 2 words he always knew he would: eat me. This is not unusual, as the Seltzers are cannibal Americans, a once proud and thriving ethnic group, but for Seventh, it raises some serious questions, both practical and emotional. Of practical concern, his dead mother is 6'2" and weighs about 450 pounds. Even divided up between Seventh and his 11 brothers, that's a lot of red meat. Plus, Second keeps kosher, Ninth is vegan, First hated her, and Sixth is dead. To make matters worse, even if he can wrangle his brothers together for a feast, the Can-Am people have assimilated, and the only living cannibal who knows how to perform the ancient ritual is their uncle, whose erratic understanding of the traditions leads to conflict. Seventh struggles with his mother's deathbed request. He never loved her, but the sense of guilt and responsibility he feels is overwhelming. His mother always taught him he was a link in a chain thousands of people long, stretching back hundreds of years, but as his brother first said, he's getting tired of chains. Irreverent and written with humor, Mother for Dinner is an exploration of legacy, assimilation, the things we owe our families, and the things we owe ourselves. It sounds so freaking weird. And of course, I think it sounds great. And then after that on my list is Mrs. Caliban, and it's actually Jen Campbell who got me into this one. This is by Rachel Ingalls. So this is about a woman named Dorothy who is kind of not having a good time. She's waiting for her husband to get home. She's doing chores. She hears on the radio that an Aquaman from a local like marine biology research station has escaped, and actually it comes into her house and starts talking to her. And I think this is kind of like Shape of Watery. It says it's tagged under romance, so we'll see about that one. Again, it sounds like weird and I love that. And then the last one I have that I have had forever, I think I've had it for like a year and a half on my Kindle, like I should just read it already, is The Harpy by Megan Hunter. So it's like follows Lucy and Jake, and Lucy has set aside her career to care for the children and be a loving wife to Jake when she finds out that he betrayed her. So in order to balance the score, he says that she can hurt him 3 times. And I really want to read it. The cover's amazing, the premise sounds great, but it has like tanked in ratings. It's a 3.3 on Goodreads, which is quite low, but I'm intrigued, like why do people not like it? And also, the reason a lot of people don't like books is the reason I do like books sometimes, so I'll just have to read it myself and see. Now we're into the books that I'm planning to get from my library. So we're gonna start out with my favorite modern illustrator, who is Simon Stålenhag, who is like a Swedish artist and author. So there are 2 books by him on this list because I realized my library had both, and I was like, oh my god, yes! So he wrote The Electric State, which I own. It's right there. It's one of like the prettiest post-apocalyptic things I've ever read and looked at visually. Things from the Flood is about the loop is closed, life is normal, when suddenly the countryside is flooded by dark water from an abandoned underground facility. Rumors spread around that the stories of the flood and how it has brought something with it. One thing is clear, the past is not ready to be forgotten. So yeah, his illustration style is kind of post-apocalyptic, glitchy, gloomy, and like beautiful, if that makes sense. And I just absolutely love it. The other one from him is his newest one, The Labyrinth. And it's about a world covered by ashes and ruin, the remnants of an otherworldly phenomenon that has ravaged the Earth's atmosphere and forced survivors deep underground. Matt, Sigrid, and Charlie leave the safe harbor of the Enclave for an expedition into the wastelands of the surface world. During their journey, they are forced to confront dark secrets from the time before civilizations fall. So this, to me, really reminds me of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Winds, when she's doing the excavation work of the, like, Ohm's exoskeleton and the Ohm's like body. It just really is cool. And also when they fall down into the fossilized trees. Like, if you know, you know. And if you don't, you should watch Nausicaa of the Valley of the Winds by Studio Ghibli. It's amazing. Okay, and next is Chewit by Claire Oshetsky. So this also sounds weird and it just got my attention. So it says, Tiny is pregnant, her husband is delighted. You think this baby is going to be like you, but it's not like you at all. This baby is an owl baby. When Chewit is born small and broken-winged, Tiny works around the clock to meet her daughter's needs. Left on her own to care for a child who seems more predatory bird than baby, Tiny vows to raise Chewit to be her authentic self. Even in those times when Chewit's behavior goes violent and strange, the mother's loving commitment to her daughter is unwavering. When she discovers that her husband is on an obsessive and increasingly dangerous quest to find a cure for their daughter, Tiny must decide whether Chewit should be raised to fit in or to be herself, and learns what it truly means to be a mother. I'm not sure if it means literally an owl child, or if it's like a metaphor. Either way, I'm in. Also, the cover is just really stunning. And then we have Suffer the Children by Craig Deloy? And this one sounds awesome. It's like I think there's like a plague or sickness that kills a bunch of children, and then suddenly, like the next day, they're all reanimated, but in order to keep them alive, they need blood. So their parents, having just experienced such a horrendous loss, are trying to source blood for their born-again children. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it, and Jordan really loves it, so I'm into it. The last illustrated one is Beautiful Darkness by Fabian Vellman, who I believe is French. I want to say French. Looks like it's going to be cute, but what it is there are little tiny beings and spirits that are living inside a corpse of a girl that is in a forest. And you're not really focusing on the corpse, you're focusing on like the little beings living inside of her. But they're in a freaking corpse, so it's pretty dark. So yeah, Beautiful Darkness seems to be the perfect vibe. So I'm really hoping that I like it. I've seen reviews that said either they loved it or they found it confusing. And I can't wait to see which one I am. Alright, and then the penultimate one is The 20 Days of Turin by Giorgio De Maria, so an Italian writer. This I heard about years ago, and it's been on my library like to read list forever. I just never got around to it, but it sounds amazing. So, in the spare wing of a church-run sanatorium, some zealous youths create the library, a space where lonely citizens can read one another's personal diaries and connect with like-minded souls in dialogues across the ether. But when their scribblings devolve into the ugliest confessions of the macabre, the library's users learn too late that a malicious force has consumed their privacy and their sanity. As the city of Turin suffers a 20-day phenomenon of collective psychosis, culminating in nightly massacres that hundreds of witnesses cannot explain, the library is shut down and erased from history. That is, until a lonely salaryman decides to investigate these mysterious events, which the citizenry of Turin fear to mention. Inevitably drawn into the city's occult netherworld, he unearths the stuff of modern nightmares. What's shared can never be unshared. This is an allegory inspired by the grisly neo-fascist campaigns of the day. And 20 Days of Turin has enjoyed a cult following in Italy for over 40 years. Tell me that doesn't sound amazing. It sounds so good. It sounds like it should be a TV show, honestly. And I don't even think it's that long. Yeah, it's only 220 pages. So this is classed as horror, new weird fiction, and Italian fantasy. So it sounds absolutely great. So last up is The Animals in That Country by Laura Jean McKay, which was recommended to me by my husband's aunt. And this says, hard drinking, foul-mouthed, and allergic to bullshit, Jean is not your usual grandma. She's never been good at getting on with other humans, apart from her granddaughter. Instead, she surrounds herself with animals, working as a guide in an outback wildlife park. And although Jean talks to all her charges, she has a soft spot for a young dingo. As disturbing news arrives of a pandemic sweeping the country, Jean realizes this is no ordinary flu. Its chief symptom is that its victims understand the language of animals. As the flu progresses, the unstoppable voices become overwhelming, and many people lose their minds, including Jean's son, Lee. When he takes off with Kimberly heading south, Jean feels the pull to follow her son. Setting off on their trail with the dingo riding shotgun, they find themselves in a stark, strange world in which the animal apocalypse has only further isolated people from other species. So it says, this asks what would happen if, for better or for worse, we finally understood what animals were saying. And what really got me into this is that my aunt was saying it really puts into perspective that like humans often think that they're like so benevolent and like helping other creatures, but sometimes like from the creature's point of view, it's totally different. So it just sounds so weird, gorgeous cover, and an Australian author. So yeah, I really want to read all of these books this year. Please let me know if there were any on this list that you didn't know about or that you want to read as well. Yeah, I'm just really excited about all of them, and I hope I can get to them. So far, I only read one in January, so yeah, I need to average about 2-ish every month. So I have a little bit of catching up to do, but not that bad. So I will talk to you in another video soon. Lots of love. Bye for now. Bye.